The universe scientific background, it says that we started, 13.8 billion years ago. That's only a few billion years ago, not too far in the distant future. So from that, we came from nothing. And then according to science, we have the Big Bang. But before we have the Big Bang, it's just a dot. Some people call it nothingness. Some people call it 0-point energy. From a scientific perspective, it's nothing, but there is existence. And when we had just in ourselves, which the God, the creator, the universe, as just a dot or as nothing, we had infinite knowledge. So we know about everything there is to know, including ourselves. But one thing that we lack is experience. And the way that we could express ourselves is to start to create another version of ourselves. So if we are dark, we wanted to create light to see what that is like. So we start showing light around the dot, and that's kind of the beginning. And then we go, well, why don't we go a bit further? We started extending ourselves to have another perspective. Imagine one side, if it's light, the other side is dark. If one side is love, the other side is hate. One side is yin, the other side is yang. And we started creating the opposites so that we can know ourselves. And it wasn't like a good or bad thing. We just wanted to know ourselves. We just wanted that contrast, right? A mirror version of ourselves so we can truly know who we are. And then we started extending a bit further. And on the other extent, to have more love, the other side will have more hate, more fear, more anger. So we started growing more and more further. At first, at the very lower end, closer to the first dot, we could still see ourselves. We could still remember that we came from unity. We are all the same. It's all my creation. But as it started expanding further and further, what do you think will start to happen? On one side, you don't see the other side anymore. It's becoming too far of a distance. And we're also getting further from our original dot, our original unity point. And we start to forget where we came from. We start to forget who we are. And then we just keep expanding out and expanding out until we get to the very top of the polarity. There's nowhere else further to go. We could get as dark as we could on one side, and the other side we could only get as light as we could. There isn't any brighter that we could get. And the only way that we can go back is through integration. So this dot started off as unity. And then on one side, we got time. As we start, when we were just a dot, it's one-dimensional. And then when we started to have the lines, it became two-dimensional. And then when we had time and space, it became a third-dimensional reality, which we are in right now. And so this trinity of time and space kind of keep us in the loop of our current reality. So we got light and dark on one side. The only way to unite is to go back, meet at the middle for us to integrate. And through the middle, this is the eye of the soul. The eye of the soul is what can see the truth. The truth is being revealed. And this doesn't happen typically over just one lifetime. As we keep growing and expanding, this is just one perspective. In the fractal pattern, this happens over and over and over again through many different patterns. You got like different lives that you've been lived. You got the different genes and chromosomes that's been created, having the same patterns. Each one of these lines represents one life. You could be like a bit more on the positive side. The other lifetime, you could be more on the negative side. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just, it is. One side represents more masculine. The other side represents more feminine, or whichever side that you want to create. But these are the polarity energy that's been created for us to more get to know ourselves. So unity can only get from extremes until we reach the top of both sides. We cannot come back to unity because we need to come here to, hey, let's just dabble and try a small experience. We came here to have the full suite of experience. That's pretty much what evolution really is. And we could either go through the lines, which is a long path, but when we can transcend beyond, skip a lot of the steps and see all the things that's happening from above, That's what they call going through the fourth dimension. You transcend beyond time and space, like Dr. Joe talks about this through a lot of his meditation. Like, you transcend beyond that, and that's when you can change reality. When you are still hovering within the small lines, you're getting caught in the whole fractal patterns of time and space and thinking that I'm stuck in a loop, But when you meditate, when you get into a transcendental state, and through plant medicine and other modality as well, you get to almost like an astral plane, and reality feels like it's just a dream. You're going into the fourth dimensional realm. And from that, you became more like the observer. You can see all the things, all the good and the bad that seems to be happening, especially all the stuff they see on the news and all the people that's complaining. You can see through that. You can see through it. You know what? I created this whole experience for me to experience all of this. It's all part of the perfection. And the way that he described it, when the two polarity on the two extremes, when they come together in harmony, it's almost like they make love, like in balance. But then when they come together in conflict, the energy is not right, the light and the dark come into contact together, then they fucked. As in, like, they go to war. They have conflict. So the polarity is a great playground if you know and understand how it works and work in balance with it. And the extremes combine together when they realize that they are one and forgive the other, as it was created to understand ourselves. So a lot of the times that if we're holding on to any angst about someone, something, some event, and there's no forgiveness, we're still stuck in one end of the polar opposite. And even if you're on the good side, the light side, our ultimate path is not to come here to just experience life. Maybe in this lifetime, you can experience all the lights that you want, but ultimately, all the lifetime that we came to experience is to experience the peak of both sides and then come back as one. And to come back as one, we have to forgive. We have to understand that, hey, life is like a dream. Life is the game. You've heard of this saying before. The path of forgiveness will live many lives coming back to one. If you do not recognize the other path, you will keep repeating the same path. You are responsible for everything. It's the path of recognition. So all this is our own doing. The duality is just an expression. So eventually, when we come here back to the eye of the soul, when we can transcend beyond time and space, that's the 5D. The 5D eventually, we come back to unity. And you can see the polarity being experienced by the 5D, 4D, 5D, 67D. It gets smaller and smaller as we get closer and closer to back to unity. So 5D, you can still experience the differences, but you're no longer stuck on the time and the space. You can drift apart, you can feel the different side, but you more together. Confusion is a distortion of light. So there's other realms, the higher dimensions, you also experience the same thing as well. And very often the channeling, whether you call it archangels, angels, or higher self or whatever, you're channeling from one side to the other side. You're downloading information because there's connection. So you may have heard of certain fractal pattern called the tree of life. Symbols and things, it's like both sides is balanced. You got originally one single cell, which is the unity part. And it says, well, if I wanted to be more, I need someone else to come in to complete me. And the cell split up into two and then into four. And if you look at the tree of life, it all started with circles, circular patterns, and they kind of form the pattern of the tree of life or the flower of life. So that's kind of what my take of how we came to be in existence through the third, like we talked about the 1D, 3D, 4D, 5Ds, all these Ds before. And it prompted me to look like, what are these Ds and why did we started to have the different dimension? Why did we create the various dimension? What is it for? The 6 and 7Ds is not something that I may know it, and again, I may have the knowledge of it, but without truly experiencing it, like I don't get into that much. But as for the third dimension, it encapsulates what we're going through perfectly, especially through a lot of the events in our lives that we may think like, why did that happen? It shouldn't have happened. It's so unfair, especially when this person haven't done anything wrong. why do they deserve this? And we just can't explain these things from the third dimensional perspective. But when you go into 4Ds, like beyond time and space, and when you can see the holistic pictures of why did we create all this, you can start to like a bit more at peace with whatever happens. I guess the big theme of the awakened soul is surrendering and let go. Doesn't mean that we don't care, we don't give a crap about what happens, but we can only do our best. And what the outcome is, I start to realize that I'm just a very small part in all of this game of life. And I just play the best game that I know how and try to tap into what is my mission, what is my purpose at this current moment. If our purpose is just to experience and perhaps start to remember and reconnect with ourselves, then a lot of weight can be taken off our shoulders.